Well, good morning, all you crazy kids out there in internet land. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome back to Front Porch Brunch, a little gathering of friends when we get together on the internet. We talk about what's going on in the news. And I don't know about you guys, but I think we're going to have a hard time finding stuff to talk about today. Yeah, right. Oh, it is just absolutely amazing out there. I tell you what, so much to talk about. We are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, send the message out to your friends. Tell them we're here. We'd love to have them come and be among us. Give a thumbs up. Go ahead and get the thumbs up out of the way. Just beat the crap out of that thumbs up button. You know, be it on YouTube or on Rumble. We'd love to have all your support, and we know we've got it, every bit of it that you can give, we appreciate, and it's all appreciated. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. So thank you very much for being here this morning. Let's take a look around and see who's out here this morning. Oh, good morning, Miss Z. Glad to have you. Howdy, Miss Gypsy. Glad you're here. Hunter, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see everybody this morning. We'll go ahead and we'll start dropping the volume on the music. And I tell you what, it is good to be back here on Saturday morning with y'all, because what I've been going through for the past couple of weeks is nothing but a major league pain in the tuchus. So there you go. Oh, wow. So good to see everybody. Bonjour over there on Rumble. Thank you, Miss Gypsy. We appreciate it. Thanks to everybody. Glad you all are here. Like I say, I don't know that we're going to be able to find anything to talk about. There's just nothing going on in the news. I mean, how I'm going to find 2 hours minimum worth of material, I have no idea. It's just going to be awful. Just plain awful. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, and anywhere else that we can. I'm thinking about expanding, and I gotta start digging into this. But anyway, we will. Good morning, Miss Leanne. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Mwah, my dear. Always happy to see you. Thanks for all the tweets and all the retweets and all the everything else you guys do to advertise this humble little going concern of a live stream. We genuinely appreciate it. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you, loser. Loser, I genuinely appreciate it. Always boosting my ego. Always appreciate it. Oh, so what to talk about? Well, we may as well get into the big topic that broke late yesterday afternoon. And I've got some thoughts around this, as you might imagine. And I'd be glad to hear what you guys have got to think. So let's just dive right in. Well, you know, I have got an Odyssey account, but I hardly ever use the thing because about 3 or 4 months into my doing videos and stuff, for some reason, it just wouldn't let me post anything. I don't know about how live streams work. I could always, matter of fact, let me jot down that little note to myself. But yeah, I am on Odyssey, but I hardly ever use the thing. But yeah, if I could live stream on Odyssey, that'd be fantastic. Okay, got that little note out of the way. All right, appreciate it. All right, so let's get into the first big story of the day, which broke, like I said, late yesterday afternoon. And it's this. Jury awards E. Jean Carroll $83 million in Trump defamation case. Trump announced he would appeal the verdict. So let's just get right into the guts of this story. Written by Catherine Yang at the Epoch Times. A panel of 9 jurors ordered former President Donald Trump to pay writer E. Jean Carroll $83 million in damages at the close of the defamation trial on Friday. It breaks down as $18.3 million for compensatory damages, which include $11 million to fund a campaign to repair Miss Carroll's reputation. $7.3 million for emotional harm, and $65 million in punitive damages. That's just astounding. Ms. Carroll had sued President Trump in 2019 over 2 statements he had made during allegations of sexual assault. According to CNN, the judge advised jurors to never disclose their participation in the trial after explaining that they could speak about having served on the jury, but were prohibited from disclosing the identity of other jurors. Quote, My advice to you is that you never disclose that you were on this jury, and I won't say anything more about it, U.S. Judge Lewis Kaplan said. Shortly afterwards, President Trump, who had already left the courthouse, blasted the verdict and reiterated his intention to appeal on Truth Social. Quote, absolutely ridiculous. I fully disagree with both verdicts and will be appealing this whole Biden-directed witch hunt focused on me and our Republican Party. Our legal system is out of control and being used as a political weapon. They have taken away all First Amendment rights. This is not America. Closing arguments finished on Friday, during which attorney Roberta Kaplan asked the jury to award Ms. Carroll $24 million in compensatory damages and additional punitive. Defense attorney Alina Habba said during closing statements, President Trump had told the truth when he refuted Ms. Carroll's claims and said he didn't know her or never touched her and therefore cannot be liable for defamation. Okay, let's get into this. It goes without saying that the American legal system currently has a lot of problems, and not necessarily because Donald Trump is being sued. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a whole subject all unto itself, okay? But it's quite obvious there are problems. There are deficiencies, there are things that are starting to crop up that are not healthy short and long term. And you always hear the term weaponized judicial system. I agree with that in principle. Absolutely is the case. I would make an argument a lot of this started in more recent times with the Alex Jones stuff back in 2016-17 over what happened or his supposed statements about the Sandy Hook school shooting. And a jury that awards $1 billion in damages over some statements Alex Jones supposedly made is just nuts. But to me, this is nothing more than a continuation of that. So let's get into a few other reactions, and then I've got some more things to say about this. And I'm dying to hear what you guys think about all this. I'm sorry to hear that, but well, we're glad to have you, dear. My twice monthly battle with the post office. 6 weeks in the new place, and they still... Oh, good grief. That is insane. That's just nuts. Well, bless your heart. We're glad you're here, and thank you for being here. And, you know, we'll always catch up with you, darling. So, you know, do what you got to do so we get it. But that's just crazy. Yeah, governmental efficiency for you, I tell you. Yeah, now we're going to get into some of this, too. We're going to get into some of this because I've got some of that lined up. But I tell you what, yeah, she is. She's. I think the Southern expression for it is a bit tetched. She definitely a bit tetched. Ain't no doubt about that. But I'm going to play you some reactions to the jury's verdict, and I tell you what, the mainstream media never ceases to amaze me with the level of almost vulture-like joy that they take in the suffering of others, okay? So that said, that kind of sets up what we're going to watch next. This is a clip that went out on MSNBC yesterday. Y'all, take a listen to this.
We do have a verdict. E. Jean Carroll did suffer more than nominal damages as a result of Mr. Trump's publication of these 2 June 2019 statements.
Okay, now let me set this up. She's apparently getting a live feed from in the courtroom. So if she's looking down and looking up, looking down, looking up, I guess she's looking on an iPad tablet or a tablet of some kind to kind of hear what's going on in there as the verdict is being read out. So that'll continue.
The first amount for compensatory damages for her emotional pain and anguish is $7.3 million. The amount for the compensatory damages for the reputation repair program is $11 million. We're now moving on to the questions about whether Trump acted with malice. Remember, the questions have to be answered in the affirmative to get to a question of punitive damages. We are still waiting for that answer.
As you wait for those
That
answers,
Mr. Trump acted with malice. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump acted with malice in making the first of those statements. That's the June 21st, 2019 statement at 5:17 p.m. in which he denied it for the first time. And similarly, we are waiting to hear whether in making that yes in June 22nd, 2019, he did also act maliciously or out of hatred or ill will in defaming her on that day. And here comes the punitive damages award of $65 million, Alicia. So $65 million in punitives, $11 million in the reputation repair program, and $7.3 million in in the emotional harm, for a total of $83.3 million. That's a high 8-figure award. I had predicted we'd be high 8 figures or early 100 million. Certainly less money, I think, that E. Jean Carroll's lawyers had hoped, but $83.3 million is nothing to sneeze at.
Well, I should hope it's not anything to sneeze at, because if it's reached the point in America that we're sneezing at $83 million, then we've got serious problems here. Oh my gosh. Now, I will give all three of those ladies on MSNBC a lot of credit. For the most part, I wouldn't want to play poker against them because they were able to keep their composure. But from my perspective, the look in their eyes, yeah, there's just almost too much joy these people are taking in announcing some of this. And I also get, you're in the moment, you're trying to report on it, you're trying to, get the news out there faster than anybody else. There's a certain amount of hurriedness, anxiousness to get the report out there before anybody else. $83 million for simply saying, I didn't do it. Wow. Just, yeah. Idiocracy. Just absolutely amazing. Just $83 million. Well, as you might expect, there were some reactions to this, and everybody's heard Trump's statement about it. He's going to appeal it, which, okay, fine, he can appeal it. Personally, I think he should. I will say this. I just wonder how much his behavior during and after the trial affected what the jury wound up awarding. Now, don't get me wrong. This trial was done in Manhattan, and there has been copious amounts of criticism of the New York legal system. That said, I don't know how smart of a move it was during Friday's proceedings for Trump to just get up and walk out right in the middle of it before everything went down. It's one thing to know that the deck is stacked against you. It's another thing to be demonstrative about what's going on. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. I understand the frustration of a man who feels that he's innocent and he's getting railroaded. Okay? I get that. Would he have been made to pay damages regardless of how he acted? Yeah. On the other hand, it's another thing to, know there's a hornet's nest over in the bush. It's another thing to take a stick, keep smacking at it. And I just wonder how much of what Trump, and I get it. Again, he wants to protest his innocence. He wants to say, this never happened. He wants to introduce evidence, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, we're past the point of that stage. This is a question of how much should she be awarded. And sitting there, calling the judge names, talking about how it's all rigged, how it's all fake, it's all phony, yada, yada, yada. you're not doing yourself any favors here. If they award a lesser amount and you still want to appeal that, fine. But to amp it up and then wind up getting smacked with an almost nine-figure verdict is not helping your cause. Again, innocent, guilty, I'm not what I'm talking about here. I just wonder how much damage Trump did to himself protesting this. Should he protest it if he feels he's innocent? Absolutely. Absolutely he should. Okay? I'm not saying be chicken about this. If you feel you're in the right, shout it from the rooftops. But on the other hand, there's a time and place under heaven to do all things, and this may not have been the time for him to be doing this kind of stuff. Appeal it, ask for a new trial, do whatever the legal system allows you to do in situations like this. Okay? But on the other hand, constant Truth Social posts, statements outside the courtroom, whatever, they weren't exactly helping your cause with people. Because people go home and read newspapers at night. Okay? They watch TV. They go on the internet. I'm just saying. But there were other reactions to what happened. And needless to say, Nikki wasted no time whatsoever jumping on this bandwagon. Take a look at this. This is from Simon Atiba's Twitter page. Quote, and this is from Nikki Haley, Donald Trump wants to be the presumptive Republican nominee, and we're talking about $83 million damages. We're not talking about fixing the border. We're not talking about tackling inflation. America can do better than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Yeah. Well, Nikki, there's a reason why he's not able to talk about fixing the border, and there's a reason we're not talking about tackling inflation. It's the guy's in court. A few other reactions. Let me put them out here for you. This is from the National Pulse. Raheem Kassam's going little concern of a news organization. And let me see, did he write this one or did somebody else write this? Hang on a second. Not attributed to an author, but okay, we'll just take a look at this real quick. The jury in the second E. Jean Carroll case against President Donald J. Trump has returned a verdict awarding the sex-obsessed writer $83 million. The clerk read the verdict, which included $7.1 million for compensatory damages, $11 million more, and $65 million punitive cost. Carroll's lawyers had initially asked for between $7 and $12 million. The money is supposed to be used for reputational damage repair, which I'm in the wrong line of work, y'all. I need to go into reputational damage repair program processing. Anyway, whose publicity and income have risen since her bizarre story about being raped by Trump in a department store in the 1990s first came to light. By comparison, the multi-billion-dollar Bud Light is spending $7 million on a Super Bowl ad to repair its reputation since its Dylan Mulvaney fiasco. Ashley Humphreys, the reputation repair, quote, expert, who testified on behalf of E. Jean Carroll, admitted under cross-examination she has no real-world experience in the field. She is a Democrat Party donor. The trial has been marred with bias from the judge, as well as having a tainted New York pool of evidently far-left jurors seeking to punish President Trump for his politics. Donor Nikki Haley and Jeffrey Epstein friend Reid Hoffman funded the case. Okay? Let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, exactly. Fight to the fullest extent of the law. Be respectful in court. Just saying, and don't get me wrong, shout it from the rooftops, but, just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let's see. What else have we got out here? Yeah, good point. We'll get to that in a minute. So hang on to that thought. So let's see. What else by way of reactions? I love a good Cernovich tweet. I really do. And he's got one for this occasion. In the first trial, the jury held that Trump did not sexually assault the woman. She did not prove her case on that count. You can find the original jury form. Then he got sued for defamation for calling her a liar for making the accusation. $85.5 million. $88.5 million. There you go, folks. Just saying. Absolutely amazing. What else have we got by way of reactions? Let's see here. Yeah. So let's talk about this whole E. Jean Carroll lady. And as I say, she's a fairly unique soul. And I think some things ought to be fairly pointed out. You know, I mean, regardless of what you think of Trump, and don't get me wrong, I think there are occasions when Trump can just be absolutely ridiculous. And frankly, not thinking everything through before he does something. His impulsiveness will get him in trouble sometimes. But that said, there are some things that should be fairly pointed out about old E. Jean. Oh, hang on to that, Leanne. Hang on. We're going there. We're going to go there. Absolutely, we will. I mean, look, like I say, you can like Trump. You can not like Trump. You can think he's guilty of something, not guilty. That's fine. Fine. I just think it's fair. I just think that it's absolutely fair to show what was bringing suit against the guy. And y'all make up your own mind what you think of her claims. Just saying. So let's take a look at some of this. Be nice, Larry. Jury finds Trump must pay $83.3 million to E. Jean Carroll. The judge in the case is so corrupt, it's disgusting. The first case had so many factors that disprove it. Dress made after the date of the claims. Dress was never allowed to enter into evidence. E. Jean Carroll can't remember the year and the month, anything. Rape victims and rapists never forget. The plot line seems like it's based off of an SVU story. Carroll planned this with husband and friend, same who backed her story, was never convicted of rape but of assault. Who raped someone in a clothing store? He has security and no witnesses. She helped pass the law to allow statute of limitation to be changed for only 1 year period. E. Jean Carroll writing is horrendous. Her interviews are disgraceful. Her cat is named Vagina. Yes, that is true. Cat is named Vagina. So there's that. There are a few other things that ought to be pointed out about old E. Jean. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Show you something real quick. This is a front page cover on the New York Magazine. This is the dress I was wearing 23 years ago when Donald Trump attacked me in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room. Just one little problem. Just one little problem. The dress she claims she was wearing on the day it happened didn't exist, according to reports. So how does she know that that's the dress if it's true that that dress didn't exist or the design of it didn't exist at the time this happened? How does she know this is even what she's wearing? Just asking what I think are reasonable questions. Oh, let's see what else. What else about dear? Oh, yes. Now we're up to it. And in his beautifully succinct but eloquent way, Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. And I think you're going to begin to understand why here in just a second. Folks, this clip runs about 35 seconds. This is E. Jean Carroll's appearance on Anderson Cooper 360 talking about this whole thing. I want you to listen to this. I'm going to play the whole thing without interruption.
I feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Yeah. Yep. Good point. Good point. Just saying. I mean, guys, look. I will admit. What the hell? Let's put it this way. If she was trying to make a different point, she most certainly didn't help herself with the way she worded it. If, on the other hand, she's talking about people who are being graped, okay, that's a really interesting take. You know, absolutely amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, that's E. Jean Carroll. Now, I will admit I haven't followed this case very much because, frankly, trying to keep my eyes on other different things, and person only has X amount of bandwidth. But like I said, lay aside everything else. $83 million makes sense in all this? Like I said, don't get me wrong. The Truth Social posts, everything else most certainly didn't help. But $83 million for that makes sense to everybody, right? Now, could Trump have gotten a different trial? Could he, on the merits of the merits in question? Maybe, I don't know. Have to go back and look at what happened. But this makes sense to everybody. How? Now he's got to spend time fighting this nonsense when it could be better spent doing something else. I don't know about you guys, but it's like just unbelievable. $1 billion on Alex Jones, $330 million on Rudy Giuliani, and $83 million on Trump, which he's going to appeal. I don't know, folks. If that's not weaponized, if that's not a weaponized legal system, I don't know what is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just amazing to me. Yeah, she is an absolute piece of work. That is faux show. Well, it's the top. Yeah, Crazy Town's right. It's the top of the hour. And my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. We are on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Twitter. We're taking a look at some of the things in the news. And no, I don't think it's, no, Larry, I'm not, no, up to now, I've kind of ignored it, but I don't think I will. Nope, it's not a matter of moving the goalposts at all. And frankly, this ought to worry someone like you. Because someday, this crazy system that is now running amok, that's swirling around like a dervish, like a whirling dervish, that whirlwind could come down on you. So be very careful what you're happy about, buddy. Just saying. No. Oh, I really wish you'd learn how to troll better, Larry. I really do. Your trolling is weak. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, no, I agree. This should. Because what happens when the day comes that, and not even Larry, let's just say anybody that doesn't like Trump. What happens when the day comes when the legal system comes around and the same thing happens to them is what's happening to people he doesn't like? I think it's a fair question. I think it's a very fair question. So let's move on to some other news items, because there's one right now that's just frankly this one is scaring me to death for the potential that it could cause. The standoff between the governor of Texas and the Biden administration over the border. It is reaching the point of dangerous territory. Dangerous on a lot of levels. Dangerous constitutionally, potentially dangerous physically. And it's got all kinds of angles and permutations to it that I don't think people are really given consideration to. So everybody kind of knows what's going on, but in case you don't, earlier this week, the Supreme Court of the United States handed down a ruling. And I want to read this story from the AP to kind of set context to this. I did a video about it, but now that we've got some time to really kind of expand on this thing, I really want to get into this. This is from the Associated Press. Supreme Court allows federal agents to cut razor wire Texas installed on U.S.-Mexico border. And this is an article written by Mark Sherman and Paul Weber. This came out about 5 days ago. A divided Supreme Court on Monday allowed Border Patrol agents to resume cutting, for now, razor wire that Texas installed along a stretch of the U.S.-Mexico border that is at the center of an escalating standoff between the Biden administration and the state over immigration enforcement. The 5-4 vote clears the way for Border Patrol agents to cut or clear out concertina wire that Texas has put along the banks of the Rio Grande to deter immigrants from entering the U.S. illegally. Some migrants have been injured by the sharp wire, and the Justice Department has argued the barrier impedes the U.S. government's ability to patrol the border, including coming to the aid of migrants in need of help. None of the justices provided any explanation for their vote. The one-page order is a victory for the Biden administration while the lawsuit over the wire continues. Texas Governor Abbott had authorized the wire, one of a series of aggressive measures the three-term Republican has taken on the border in the name of curbing illegal migrants from Mexico. His spokesman said the absence of razor wire and other deterrents encourages migrants to risk unsafe crossings and makes the job of the Texas Border Control personnel more difficult. This case is ongoing, and Governor Abbott will continue fighting to defend Texas's property and constitutional authority to secure the border. Now, it's that phrase, constitutional authority, I want to get into a discussion of. So that sets up what happens. Now, I do want to add some comments for context's sake. Like a lot of people, I got pissed as hell when I heard about this ruling. That said, I'm not as having some time to reflect on it. I'm not quite as bent out of shape as I first was. And there's a reason for that. Basically, what the Supreme Court was asked to do was rule on the question of, injunctive behavior. In other words, can this stuff stay in place while this lawsuit's still going on? At least that's how I am understanding it. Okay. Again, with the caveat that I'm no lawyer. I'm just a guy that reads the news. The case is still ongoing. What the court ruled on was very thin, very sketchy, and by one particular aspect of what's going on in this case that's still working its way up through the courts. But the reaction to what the court did is understandable. I mean, look, all you've got to do, it doesn't matter what news network you watch. The images of people flowing across the southern border in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, just by the thousands, okay? I'm sorry, I am not going to be convinced that all of this is being processed normally, that all of this is just perfectly fine. Well, Governor Abbott, to his credit, issued a letter. And let me tell you something. This letter, I'm going to say something that's probably political hyperbole, but as far as I'm concerned, this letter ought to be put in the Smithsonian Institute in that section of the museum under political statements that have impact beyond their writing. So I'm going to read this letter in its entirety, and then we're going to talk about it. And I can see the comments in chat already because you guys are, this is a hot topic, and understandably so. So let's take a look at this letter, and then we'll get into it. I'm going to try and put your comments up here as much as I possibly can because, this is definitely we got to get into this thing. So here's the letter. Salut. Dated January 24, from the desk of Governor Greg Abbott. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal law protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I hand-delivered to him, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath as to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by the Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal court to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States by wasting taxpayer dollars to open Texas's border security infrastructure. President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border, where bridges where nobody drowns, and into dangerous waters of the Rio Grande River. I want to read that again. By wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas's border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, and into dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, Section 4, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges, quote, the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. End of quote. Arizona v. United States. The failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered an Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to this state the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure the Texas border. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas. Ooh, baby. Ah. We'll get to that too. We'll get to all of that. Yeah. Agreed. Now, is causing mass migration. You're not going to be surprised with what I'm about to say, Larry, but I disagree with this. But we'll get there. What else have we got? We're going to get to this too. But here's my question. Should it come to that? Should it come to that? Okay. Abbott invokes two parts of the U.S. Constitution. I want to read both of them. Before I do, just this little point that someone made. So razor wire around the Capitol to keep out exactly who, but we can't use it at the southern border? Just saying. Okay, let's get to these parts of the Constitution that are being invoked in this letter. The first one that is mentioned is Article 4, Section 4. And I want to read this because this talks about what the United States government guarantees to each state. And this is very important. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Okay, that's most generally, everybody understands that. And shall protect each of them against invasion. Let me read that again. The United States government shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive against domestic violence. So the United States guarantees to every state protection against invasion. Okay, cool. Now, here's the next part of it. This is Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty on tonnage or keep troops or ships of war in time of peace. Okay, all that makes sense. Enter into any agreement or compact with another state. Okay. Or with a foreign power. Okay. Or engage in war. So no state shall engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Now, Abbott is not saying in his letter, at least as I understand it, that, war is being waged, but he does point out that under Section 10, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, each state has a right to self-defense because, I'll read it again, unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. In other words, there is such a danger to the state of Texas that they can't delay. They've got to do something here. Now, there is one point that I think is fair to bring up for everybody. What is invasion? What is invasion? Now, I'm not asking that question to try and be, to be obtuse, but it does sort of bear a certain legal question. Yeah, I can see what's going on the southern border. I can see people crossing it illegally. Does that constitute invasion? Practically speaking, I think it does. Legally speaking, who knows? Who knows? But practically speaking, yeah, I'm sorry, you cannot have thousands on thousands of people every month and millions of people every year crossing your border. You really have no idea who they are. You really have no idea what their intentions are. You really have no idea what's going on and not call it an invasion, practically speaking. So yeah, it's reaching a point where the state of Texas is like, look, if you're not going to do anything about it, we will. And I, in a million years, I never thought we'd ever get to this point. I never thought we'd ever get to this point where it's a bone of contention that the federal government is doing deliberately such a piss poor job that the states are having to do a federal duty. Because strictly speaking, the question of immigration does belong, in my opinion, does belong to the feds. Okay? Over on Rumble, TBA 369, a warlike or hostile entrance into the possessions or domains of another, the incursion of an army for conquest or plunder. Okay, first half of that definition I can get. Hostile entrance into the possession or domains of another. Okay. I never thought I'd ever live to see the day that the federal government is doing such a piss poor job controlling immigration or securing the border that the states are having to do it unto themselves. This is getting dangerous because now the Biden administration is faced with a very nasty problem. Of course, they may not even see it as a problem, but I sure do. I think most people do as well. That's this. Okay. So the Texas National Guard is mobilized along the Texas border with Mexico to try to halt this flow of illegal immigrants across the border. Feds don't want that to happen. Does Biden federalize the Texas National Guard? And if he tries to do that, what's going to happen? Because you've got sons and daughters of Texas down there on the border. They live in the state where this is happening. Okay? They live there. Now you've got the federal government telling them, well, we just authorized you, we just federalized you against the state in which you live. What are you going to do? That is a wretched, wretched position to put those people in. I'll tell you why. Here's my answer to that. Here's my answer. The United States government, or the government of the United States of America, let me put it that way, is a federal entity. The border, while it is Texas's border, is also the border of the United States. Whoever crosses that border and whoever requests entrance into the United States by way of immigration, to me, that constitutes a federal issue. Okay, now the security of the border is a whole other issue. But as far as who controls immigration, from my perspective, strictly speaking, that's a federal question. Now, I could be dead wrong on that one, but that's where I come down on it. That's just me. And see, here's the thing. I mean, this is what makes this so tough. Whose orders are they going to follow? And the thing that makes me mad about this, we shouldn't even be here at this point. That's what pisses me off about it all. We shouldn't even be here. This should not even be a fight. I mean, the security of a nation's border shouldn't even be an issue. I mean, we want to have arguments. You want to have arguments about who should be allowed into the country, how many of them should be allowed into the country, when they should be allowed into the country. Fine, we can have that fight all day long. Glad to do it. But securing our border against invasion, that shouldn't even be a left or right issue. It shouldn't even be Democrat or Republican. It shouldn't even be Texas versus the federal government. That's an issue for all Americans. We all ought to agree on that. Now, if you want to argue about how we do it, okay, fine. We can have that argument too while we're at it. But I give the Biden administration this. I have always said that Biden is a very petty, spiteful man. Okay? I've always said this. Oh, no, you know what? No, I don't think I'm going to let this one go. No, I don't think I will. First 3 years, the Biden administration was under Trump's immigration policy. Do your research. I have a question. For you, big boy. If that's Trump's immigration policy, then how come in the 3 years since Trump hasn't been here, the border is out of control? Because by the time Trump left office, border crossings, they were still happening, but the border was more or less under control. Everybody acknowledges that. So if what Biden is doing is simply the continuation of Trump immigration policy, then how come the border's so damned out of control? How come you've got thousands on thousands of people trying to cross? Talk about me doing my research. How about you start using your common sense? That might be a nice start. But getting back to my point. I've always said that Biden is a small, petty little man. Piece of news broke the other morning, and I couldn't put it together. Did y'all see this? Halts decision to liquefy natural gas exports to combat climate crisis. This is from Breitbart. Biden administration announced Friday it's temporarily pausing pending decisions on liquefied natural gas exports as part of a move to combat so-called climate change. In his statement, Biden said there will be a pause, but with the exception of unanticipated and immediate national security emergencies. He added that officials will probe the impacts of liquefied natural gas exports on energy costs, America's energy security, and our environment. This pause on new LNG approval sees the climate crisis for what is an existential threat of our time. Oh. Now, there are occasions when I am a very cynical man. And my cynicism can be summed up in a nursery rhyme that's been slightly altered. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. What's the very next thing you should ask? Simple. who's pushing Humpty and what's in it for them. So why is the Biden administration all of a sudden freezing future exports on liquefied natural gas? Well, there's one theory, and the more I think about it, the more it starts making sense. Take a look at this. Biden gave Abbott a 1 p.m. deadline Friday to remove his National Guard troops. Abbott refused. So Biden issued punitive sanctions against Texas by pausing liquefied natural gas development opportunities, which directly hurt the Texas economy. Just saying. Just saying. Oh, boy. I want to read a couple other things related to all this. Sadly, I think you're right. I really do. This is a tweet from Geiger, gentleman out on Twitter, and I want to read this thing because this is pretty poignant. Imagine being the President of the United States and waking up today. You're told every single day for the last 3+ years, thousands of unknown, unvetted migrants have illegally crossed our border and are being released into our country. Millions and millions of people in just a couple of years under your term. It's gotten to the point where states, politicians, and Americans across the political spectrum are demanding action and begging for help. City shelters are full, budgets are being cut, U.S. citizens feel unsafe, and many illegal migrants are being arrested for crimes including theft, drugs, and even murder. Imagine you're the president and you've been made aware of this national crisis every single day, and you just do nothing. Most people would react with shock and urgency. How could this be happening? Seal the border, send the National Guard down there. But nope, nothing. Not even an effort. In fact, not only has President Biden done absolutely nothing with his own executive authority, but he has actually ordered his administration to sue Texas and block them from attempting to stop this mass illegal immigration on their own. He then blames it on not having more money or more resources from Congress, even though he would do absolutely nothing to stop this crisis. What my Democrat friends need to understand is that you could have 1 million more border agents and endless funding, but if the plan of the policy is to still let them cross the border illegally and release them into the U.S., nothing will change. That would actually just speed up the disaster that this is currently happening and encourage even more illegal immigration. More funding and more resources for the same broken policy is not a solution. It's truly hard to comprehend what is happening. It's an absolute failure of leadership, and I'm honestly not sure how it isn't treason at this point. Over on Rumble, Gypsy says, Abbott's pretty little letter to Biden should have been sent January 22nd, 2021, the day Biden scrubbed everything put in place at the border. Yep. So what else we got here? Whoever runs Biden's Twitter took a a shot at Melania day after her mother's funeral because they are petty. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So, yeah, a few other things to mention. Oh, you mean back there? Well, sometimes you just never know what you're going to see. Don't know that he had his shirt off. Ah. Now, one other thing as it relates to Biden. This one just cracked me up. Again, from the Twitter page of Simon Atiba. President Biden explodes, says Republicans are preventing him from securing the border. If you're serious about the border crisis, pass a bipartisan bill and I will sign it. For too long, we all know the border's been broken. It's past time to fix it. That's why 2 months ago, I instructed my team to begin negotiations with a bipartisan group of senators to seriously and finally address the border crisis. For weeks now, that is what they've done, working around the clock, through the holidays, over the weekends. Let's be clear. For too long, we all know the border's been broken. It's long past time to fix it. We all know the border's been broken. It's long past time. I'm sorry that I'm repeating this 2 or 3 times, but I want it to sink in what that joker has just said. I really do. We all know the border's been broken. It's long past time to fix it. Really? I want to play you a clip from Ted Cruz. And normally I don't necessarily quote Ted Cruz all the time, but this is one of those moments of absolute clear brilliance. And I got to give a hat tip to Rich Barris on this one because he's the one that pointed this one out to me. And I thought, this is too good. I got to use this one. So the border's broken. Everybody knows it's long past time to fix it, huh? Well, here's Cruz's response to that.
The Biden border crisis is an absolute humanitarian disaster. And Democrats don't care. Last year, 853 migrants died crossing illegally into this country. Alejandro Mayorkas didn't even know how many had died because he didn't care. When I brought 19 senators down to the border, we saw a man who had drowned floating in the Rio Grande. Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands upon thousands of children were brutalized and sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands of women were sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats do not give a damn. Last year, more than 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses from Chinese fentanyl flooding across the southern border, and Democrats do not give a damn. Now, you may say, oh, come on, that's harsh. They care. They care. Somewhere in their hearts, they care about all the people suffering and dying. Baloney. Because if they cared, they would stop it.
I want to bring up something that is absolutely, completely true. Joe Biden has all the authority he needs to shut down our southern border from illegals, asking Congress to pass a new law as an attempt to shift blame away from himself for the disaster. He created this mess and he can fix it. Don't get fooled here. You know, I kept reading that statement from Biden. Everybody knows that the border's broken. It's past time to fix it. Well, Mr. President, I have news for you. It was fixed. It was under control. The day you took the oath of office, January 20th, 2021, that border was under control. The second you took your hand off the Bible, walked into the Capitol, there's a whole stack of executive orders And if they weren't there, they were on your desk over the Oval Office. You started systematically undoing everything Trump had put into place in 4 years. And in doing so, you ripped up whatever securities we had on the border, and you turned loose this disaster. You've turned loose this disaster on New York City, on Chicago, on Los Angeles, on Texas, on everywhere in the United States. Don't you dare sit there and try and tell me this border, everybody knows it's broken. It's time to fix it. You're the one that broke it. You did this. How dare you? How dare you sit there and insult the intelligence of the American people? How dare you sit there and try and convince them that it's raining and the realities are pissing down their leg? When Donald Trump left office on January 20th, 2021, border crossings were down to a fraction of what they were right now. And that's without any fancy schmancy compromise bipartisan border bill that you're trying to pass off right now, which the reality is amnesty. Don't you dare sit there and try and tell me or anybody else, you lying sack of petty excrement. You damn well know the border was under control, and you undid everything Trump did. Everything. You ripped up everything that was done in 4 years to make the border secure. And now you've got Eric Adams in New York City, the mayor up there, screaming something's got to be done. You've got Brandon Johnson in Chicago saying the same thing. You've got Democrats on Capitol Hill saying the same thing. You've got everybody around the country trying to tell you that you've got to do something. And you're just sitting there playing petty games with Greg Abbott. How dare you? How dare you? And now you're going to cause the sons and daughters of Texas to be in conflict over their orders of who it is they should have to listen to. Not a complete moratorium, but most certainly a reduction of where we are right now. Trump's going to get crucified for something that needs to happen. But a significant number of these people that have been allowed to cross the border, send them back. I don't know how we're going to do that. Send them back. Sorry, folks. It just galls me, this man. It really just blows my mind. Yeah, you're right. I haven't been this red-faced in a while, but then again, I haven't been this pissed off. Just unbelievable, this man. Unbelievable. Okay, let me get my blood pressure back under control here. Sorry about that, folks. Just absolutely astounding. Absolutely astounding. If you are just joining us and you're wondering who this red-faced fellow in a hat is, my name is Brian Trippett, and I am the Front Porch Conservative. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter. This is Front Porch Brunch, where we are covering items in the news and even laughing at some of the stuff that may not really be news, but it's still funny anyway. For example, Supreme Court rules... Oh gosh. Sorry. That's too good. Too good. Anyway. Thank you for that, Robert, because I needed something to just kind of like get my blood pressure back under control here. Oh gosh. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Let's move on to some other items in the news. Some other items. So y'all heard about the bribe heard around the world? The thing going on with Keri Lake and now former chairman of the Arizona Republican Party, Jeff DeWitt. We listened to this the other night. We were covering the results on the New Hampshire primary. Myself, Christian Watson, Reuben Christopher Haynes, Chad Manley, and Brent from the Dangerous Rhetoric podcast. And I heard it and just got, well, not quite as mad as I just got a minute ago, but just pretty much just as frustrated. Anyway, I'm going to play a little snippet of this, and then I've got a question for everybody, because I'd really like to get you guys' take on this. So for those of you who have not heard it, it's like a 10-minute clip. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I want to play part of this, and I want to ask you guys a question.
So what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. I just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't, because say, I got offered to buy out.
Now, there's the first thing that ought to make you nervous is when someone says, now, don't repeat this. Don't tell anybody I said this. But anyway, we continue.
Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her. She's a great candidate. Because they don't own me. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, it's not about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
Just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
You want to stay out for 2 years. But I'll tell you what I can offer you. But I said you can do whatever you want. It's talking head, this and that. So the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was, is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her to keep her out? And I said, well, what do you want to do? Like, whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump.
Okay. Here's my question that I have for you guys. I mean, obviously, I think Jeff DeWitt is just a major league piece of crap. Really, he is. And I am really of the opinion here, truly of the opinion, that this joker, hang on a second, guys, because I about had enough. I'm about to do something that I never thought I'd ever do. Sorry about this. Just need a second. Bum 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 bum. Hang on. I'm almost done. Almost done. And got to there. And just waiting for one thing to come up. Yeah, he is. We'll get back to him here in just 1 second. Absolutely. Never thought I'd actually ever do this. Okay. Yep. I took care of that. Or as much as I can for right now. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I just blocked Larry for 24 hours. I'm done. No, I'm done. Anyway, sorry about that. Usually I don't do that sort of thing, but this just kind of reached a point. Anyway, so I want to know something as it relates to Jeff DeWitt. See, everybody's like getting all bent out of shape about old Jeffrey. He's not the person I want to know about. He's really not. I want to know who made the offer. Jeff DeWitt, he's the consiglietti. He's the Tom Heyman. I want to know who the Don is. I want to know who the Godfather is in all this. Who's making the offer? Who is this person or group of people back east that is making the offer to try to give Keri Lake some kind of a talking head gig to get her to drop out of this race? Who was it? Now, Gypsy, Gypsy's over on Rumble saying it was Cocaine Mitch. I have heard that. I've heard that it was Steve Daines, the current senator from Montana, who's also the chairman of the Senatorial Campaign Committee. I've heard that. I have a hard time believing that it's Steve Daines. And the reason is, to me, he would be no different. He's no different than this Jeff DeWitt guy. He's the middleman. Now, can I prove this came from McConnell? No, I have no idea. I just find it fascinating that there's somebody or somebodies back east that feel like they have the power to make this offer. So, who was it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if Jeff DeWitt, the now former chairman of the Republican Party of Arizona, is going to be so spineless and mealy-mouthed and weak to let himself be used like this, yeah, he doesn't need to be in a position of authority. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. Yeah, Barris is saying that it's Daines. Keri Lake, for her part, saying, nope, wasn't Steve Daines. Was not Steve Daines. And like I say, I'd have a hard time believing it was Steve Daines. Because, I mean, think about it for a second. You're the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. Your job is to get as many Republicans elected as possible. Yeah, sometimes you're going to do things that are going to make people mad in that process because not everyone is not going to agree with what you do. But I don't see how it benefits you to try to strong arm somebody as popular as Keri Lake to try to get her out of the race. That doesn't make any sense to me. Even if you think that she's not exactly the right person, if it comes back and people find out, I mean, if you're Steve Daines and it comes back and people find out that you're the one that's involved in this, it's not going to help you. Well, and Gypsy, you may be right. You may be you and Barris may be absolutely right on this. It might have been Daines. You know, are we ever going to know? I have no idea. I'm just giving you my thought on it. To me, I could see this being McConnell. I really could. He messed over Blake Masters in the 2022 election. He's messed over other Republican candidates for Senate over the years. I could see him trying to do this. I could. So that's been going on. Oh, gosh. What time is it? 10 minutes to 12. And still so many different things to get into. If you haven't done it yet, do me a favor. Hit the like button on Rumble and on YouTube. Wow, we've got 18 people over on Rumble. How you Rumblers doing over there? Glad to see it. Now, don't go running off on me, okay? Wow. We got WWG1, TBA, Gypsies over there. Got a bunch of you over there today. Glad to have you. You guys are cool. And it could be that too. That might be going on. You know, talk longer. I've got a flexible third hour built into the show. We're probably going to wind up going into the flexible third hour. But yeah, we got some definitely other stuff to get into. It's not mythical, loser. It's just available if necessary. Okay, give me a break. It's not mythical. It does exist. Yeah, Gypsy says over on Rumble, McConnell's handlers might have been the ones that made the offer because McConnell's a vegetable. He definitely not animal or mineral. That's for daggone sure. I'm here all week, folks. Try the veal. Anyway, as you all know, or you may have heard, there was a primary up in New Hampshire this week. And close to the final numbers are in. I mean, they haven't officially certified the primary results yet, but this gets fairly interesting. That is an amazing set of numbers. 175,000 votes. The previous record in the New Hampshire primary, Democrat or Republican, was 151 or 152,000 votes by Bernie Sanders back in 2016. And that's a good point, WWG1. Trump won without debating at all. Nope. Definitely. 175,000 votes in a Republican primary. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, Nikki finished a solid second place. Of course, she's the only other person running at this point. You kind of expect she's going to finish second, but it's the number that kind of surprises you. And yeah, it was a historic ass whooping, to be perfectly honest. I agree with that completely. I mean, a margin of 11 points. Trump got more votes than any candidate, Democrat or Republican, in the New Hampshire primary in history. I mean, there's several other records. Rich Barris has referred to all of these, and I'm not going to necessarily get into all that. But so where it goes next from here by calendar, on the calendar, it's going to go to Nevada. And normally I would show you the polling results in Nevada, but there's a very interesting thing going on in Nevada right now. And I don't understand how this happened. I've got to try and find somebody to talk to out there because I don't get this one. in Nevada, there's a primary and there's a caucus. Now, here's the interesting part about this. The only person on the ballot in the Nevada primary is Nikki Haley. The only two people on the caucus ballot are Donald Trump and a pastor from Texas by the name of Tony Binkley, or I believe his name is. She's not even on the ballot for the Nevada caucus, but her name is on for the primary. The funny part about the way Nevada does this is they don't award delegates on the basis of the primary result. They award it on the basis of the caucus. Now, normally I would show you the result, the polling results in Nevada, but there's really no point because no matter what happens, Ryan Binkley, I'm sorry. Anyway, I would show you the polling results in Nevada, but there's really no point because Trump's going to get all of the delegates out of Nevada. That does, however, bring us to South Carolina, which, by the way, is Nikki's home state. She was a former governor down there. And just to give you an idea, and there's probably going to be some new polling coming out next week on this. I'll be shocked if it's not. Trump's got a 30-point lead in Nevada. Okay? 30-point lead. And again, that may change with new polling. Now, as everybody is fully aware, there have been calls for Nikki to get out of this thing. And understandably, and matter of fact, it even went so far, there was a draft resolution being floated around inside the Republican National Committee to just go ahead and name Donald Trump as the presumptive nominee of the party ahead of the convention in July. And Trump, to his credit, okay. He only had a 23, and that's South Carolina? Okay, I have not seen this poll yet, but thank you for pointing that out. If it's South Carolina, I'll look into it. It was South Carolina. Okay, all right, I'll check it out. I will check it out. Let me go back to South Carolina real quick. Take a look at that. Give me 1 second here. I had just taken that down, Lee, when you had just put that up. Hang on a second. Hang on a minute. Okay, let me pull this back up. There we go. All right. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but so that poll's got 23 points. Okay. Well, definitely less than that's closer, probably closer to Trafalgar. Trafalgar's number 26. Okay. I could maybe see that because there is one dirty little secret that's going on right now. And we will get into this. As I understand it, South Carolina is no primary state. But we'll come back to that point in a minute. But there was an effort to try and just go ahead and name Trump as the nominee of the party. And to his credit, he had the good sense to say, no, I want to beat her fair and square. Let's just do it at the ballot box. That made sense politically. Absolutely made sense. Oh, no, okay, it was 27. Oh, okay. All right, when I see this poll, I'll talk about it at some point. But yeah, okay, so 27. All right, it makes a little more sense. But Trump rejected this idea of being named the party's Now, there are some people that want her. Let's be fair. We'll get to this. We will get this. Okay. So Leanne just sent me the poll. All right, hang on a minute. Let me get to my Twitter page. Gosh, that's what I love about this show. Updated information. Yada, 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 yada. It'll probably drop in my box here in just 1 second. So anyway, so yeah, we're waiting for that to come in. Okay. So Nikki has lost Iowa. Nikki Haley has lost New Hampshire. She is going to lose every delegate in Nevada and is headed for an absolute butt-kicking of epic proportion in South Carolina and beyond. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little weird to some people. If Nikki Haley wants to continue to stay in this race, it's her right to do so. But practically speaking, she's not going to be the nominee of the party. If she is, I'll be shocked. I will be absolutely shocked. So why do it? Now, I have said, and now Gypsy, get ready, because I've said she'll get out before South Carolina because she will not want the ignominy of being beaten in her own home state by Donald Trump, especially given that she was a two-term governor. Gypsy, who's one of our regulars here in chat, whom all y'all know and love, and I love her too, has said it is Nikki's intention to stay in all the way to the convention, if for no other reason, to mess around with this thing. Well, Gypsy has got some backing on this, or at least, and you know what? I cannot. I'm not saying that that the source is wrong, and Gypsy and this other person may be absolutely right. And like I said, if it turns out I'm wrong on this one, I will come on here and tell you, my audience, I screwed it up. Look, I love doing this, but I've got a rule in life as well as social media content creation. If I mess one up, I will come out here and tell you I'm wrong. I may not like it, but I'll tell you I'm wrong. So that said, that sets up what we're going to hear next from the venerable Rich Barris. And he's talking about this very discussion. What's going on with Nikki? She lost in Iowa. She's lost in New Hampshire. She's not going to pick up a single delegate out of Nevada. And she's headed for a monumental butt kicking in her home state. So why is she doing this? Well, here is the opinion of Mr. Barris.
Those grassroots donations that you heard so much about are total BS. They're Democratic activists and donors and bundlers who have networks, grassroots networks of low dollar. They have high dollar ones too, but low dollar contributors, $5 to $250, and they were putting the pedal to the metal, encouraging those networks, to donate low dollar to Nikki Haley to stop Donald Trump. They are very open about what's the correct word to use? I don't want to use their word because I don't want them to know fully how much I know, but they're trying to influence the primary. They don't even think they can get Nikki Haley to win. They just are trying to keep her surviving. And by the way, that's the word they use when they refer to their little plan in South Carolina, survive South Carolina. If we could just get Nikki Haley enough money and enough votes that she can survive in South Carolina, then we can get her to Super Tuesday where she will win. And I kid you not, there are multiple states that they're targeting, but open primary states like Virginia, Vermont is another one they're targeting, Massachusetts. Trump has huge leads in these states, but in a state like Massachusetts, you're talking about 19% of the vote is a registered Republican vote. It will be an independent vote, and Democrats can get out there and do their thing. So they think in these states, especially in the New England states, there are too few Republicans, even if Donald Trump wins them by 80-20 margins, 85-15 margins. There's so little of the electorate that if they can get their independents and many of their Democrats to not vote in their primary, but in the Republican primary, they can actually deliver some of those states to Nikki Haley.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the plan, apparently the plan. And like I say, if I'm wrong on this one, I'll come out here and tell you guys. But if that's what she's planning on doing, she's not helping anybody. I mean, I thought, and who knows, she may yet do it before South Carolina. But I thought, that for nothing else, for her own political viability long term, she would be wanting to get out before South Carolina to preserve viability past 2024. If she doesn't get out, then it's quite obvious at that point she is more than willing to let herself be used. And if I had disagreements as to why Nikki Haley should not be president before, if she gets beat in South Carolina by the margins that she could get beat and still continues on with this thing, then I'm sorry. Calling her a politician might be the nicest label that I could possibly give this woman. At that point, she's something else. The only thing we're haggling over is the price tag, as the old joke used to go. And if you haven't heard it, it goes something like this. Madam, would you sleep with me for $1 million? Of course I would. Madam, would you sleep with me for $1? Of course not. What do you think I am? Madam, we know exactly what you are. We're just haggling over the price tag. Harsh? Absolutely. True? Quite possibly. So, there you go. It's a Gypsy. I love you, and you might very well be right, and if you are, I will come on here and say it. Not that you need my validation at all. Not that you need my validation, but I'll be man enough to come out and say it. You were right, I was wrong, and I screwed one up. But anyway, that is the state of things. Well, that's the state of things in the Republican primary. Now, there are a couple other things I will point out, because I think they are worth mentioning. I really do. I think they are worth mentioning. And one of them has to do with Biden himself as it relates to the general election. And I found this article on Axios, and I want to bring this to your guys' attention because I thought, this is worth talking about. Remember back in the early days of the conflict that's currently going on right now between Israel and Hamas, and how the Biden administration was putting so much pressure on Netanyahu and the Israelis to bring this thing to a halt, to get this thing done, to stop this. And people say, well, it's for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Okay, maybe. But I suppositioned that there might be a political aspect to it, that Biden does not want the problems that he's got right now in the Palestinian community here in the U.S. or in the Arab community here in the U.S., which tend to be strongly Democrat voters. Well, Axios came out with something this week that backs me up on this. Take a look at this. This is from Axios, Biden's big fear. This was written by, it's not attributed to anybody, but listen to this. President Biden is increasingly nervous about Gaza's impact on his re-election chances. He's pressing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last week to quickly scale down military operations, Axios' Barak Ravid scoops. Biden's comments during the two leaders' call last Friday reflect growing U.S. concern about the continuation of the war and the president's desire to see it end well before the November elections. Biden stressed in his call with Netanyahu that he's not in it for a year of war. The two U.S. officials with let me read that again. Biden stressed in his call with Netanyahu that he's not in it for a year of war, 2 U.S. officials told Axios. A Biden advisor told Axios that the White House is very concerned about losing young voters who increasingly are opposed to the president's policies on the Gaza war. A source close to the White House said Biden can't have the war, and the growing death toll continue to dominate the news cycle as the election gets closer. Well, there you go. There you go. See, I had a feeling this was the case. I absolutely had a feeling that this was the case. Biden wants this thing off his plate, or better to say, off your TV screen or your computer screen or your iPhone or your whatever else everybody uses on an iPhone. God, names are escaping me right now, but you get my point. He doesn't want this in the news. And Gypsy sent me something the other day, and I said we would talk about this. Hello, Brentley. How you doing? See you over there on Rumble, you handsome son of a gun. She sent me something the other day, and I said, yeah, we'll talk about this because this ties into that story from Axios. Take a look at this. Not welcome here. Okay. Arab leaders canceled Dearborn meeting with Biden campaign manager. This is from the Detroit News. Check this out. Article written by Melissa Burke and Beth LeBlanc. The organizer of a planned meeting between President Joe Biden's campaign manager and a group of Arab and Muslim American leaders in Dearborn said it was canceled Friday after some in the wider community objected to the gathering amid fury over Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. Some Arab American political leaders from Metro Detroit, who are Democrats, flatly rejected any overtures from the Biden campaign until the president advocates for Israel to cease its military assault on Gaza. Assad Turf, who was coordinating the sit-down of Arab leaders and Biden officials with Biden campaign in Dearborn, said he made the decision to cancel Friday group meeting in the best interest of the community. Quote, as the community got to learn about the meeting, there was definitely a lot of outrage, and ultimately the decision was made to cancel the meeting, said Turf, the deputy county executive of Wayne County, whose family is from Lebanon. Ladies and gentlemen, Brent, it's not so much that he's winding it down. It is an issue that Biden is trying to get the Israelis to wind this down. Okay? What Biden needs desperately to happen is for Netanyahu to bring this thing to a conclusion so this thing gets off everybody's TV screens going into November. And what happened up in Detroit this week is proof of that. This issue is toxic for Biden. He's got to get this thing off his plate. He's got to get rid of this thing. And he knows it. And what happened in Detroit this week is proof of that. Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. I really can't. Because this, I got to say something here regarding the upcoming election. Got to say this. I have never in my life, I've seen all kinds of presidential elections, but I've never seen one where somebody like Joe Biden should be so obviously and blatantly tossed out of his office on election day. Can anybody name for me any issue affecting American life where your life and the life of American citizens has been made better because of Joe Biden's policies? Please. And I'm serious about this. I may disagree with you, but if you honestly think there is an issue or issues that Joe Biden has engaged in his now 3+ years in office, and he's made life better for Americans, drop it in the chat. I want to see this. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to try to bait you into an argument or anything else. I'm serious. If you think there's something he's done that's made life better for Americans on one or more issues, drop the issue in chat. I want to see this. And the reason that I'm asking that question, I'm doing this for effect. I'm doing it to make a point. My point is this. I can't think of one thing Joe Biden has done in 3+ years that's made life better for people in America. Oh, come on, Front Porch. You're just being partisan about, no, the border, inflation, our military around the world, the fact we're pumping money over to Ukraine, the fact we're pumping money in the Middle East. So yeah, there's not one reason why Joe Biden ought to be reelected. Okay, good for you. Okay. Not exactly what I was expecting, but I could be. I love my audience. I really do. You guys are awesome. You guys are absolutely awesome. Yeah. According to them, there's all kinds of employment and all kinds of the economy's good. Yeah. Yeah, Christian, you may be absolutely right on this point. You may be absolutely right. The professor has spoken, and wisely so, might I add. By the way, give this guy a sub. He's he doing things. He doing things. Gypsy says over on Rumble, the men exposing their boobies on White House front lawn love Biden. Well, apparently he's making their lives better, I guess. This is a good point. Hello, Corey. Glad to have you. Yeah. Just, there's not one reason in the world why this guy ought to be reelected. Honestly, Donald Trump ought to be kicking his butt by at least good 15 points. A good 15 points. And that does get something else I did want to bring up. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. That's a good question. That is a good question. I have, actually. I have. Here's another article from Axios. If you're wondering in part why Trump is doing so well, I'll pull this up for you real quick, just to give you some balance. This is an article by Jim Vandenhei and Mike Allen. Something shocking and telling has unfolded beyond Donald Trump's onstage, online, and courtroom theatrics. He's running a professional, well-managed, disciplined campaign. His 2024 operation is more sophisticated, dare we even say traditional, than the slapdash improvisation of his White House and 2 previous runs. Trump likely will wrap up the nomination in record time with almost universal GOP establishment backing. If he were to win and run the White House like he ran his campaign, he could reshape America and its government more quickly and in more lasting ways than he did during his first term. Fast and decisively speaks only to his power with the activist GOP. Exit polling showed lots of New Hampshire Republicans won't vote for him, even if convicted, but his hand is a hell of a lot stronger than most people expected a year ago. And that is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, TBA 369 over on Rumble says Axios is lefty media, and they're all of a sudden telling the truth. Yeah. Exactly. Funny how things work. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now. A lot going on. Hang on a second. I just saw something. Who ran this? Okay. Yeah, I did. Leanne, I did see this, but I'll put it up on screen. This is from the New York Post. This is that poll that she was talking about. Trump leads Nikki Haley by 27 in South Carolina primary. In first poll to be done since the New Hampshire primary. 27-point lead. The poll was done by Tyson Group. He's got 58%. She's got 31%. There you go. So let's see what else goes on in the world right now. Oh, there are a couple other things that are definitely worth mentioning because these are just downright funny. We have a John Fetterman update. We have reached that point in the show called HodgePodge Stew. And when I saw this story, I was like, oh, we definitely got to put this into the stew. This is definitely stew material. For those of you who maybe are visiting us on Rumble or you're with us on YouTube and you're wondering what the heck is HodgePodge Stew, HodgePodge Stew are those stories that merit attention, but they may not be top of the fold news. By top of the fold, I'm referring to the way that newspaper people used to decide, what stories go on the front page. There's above the fold, which is the stuff you want everybody to see the second they pick up the paper. Then there's below the fold. This might be better titled a below the fold story. So we've got a John Fetterman update. And I got to tell you something. Old John, let me preface this, okay? Y'all hang on a minute. As far as his politics is concerned, I cannot agree with most of anything that John Fetterman does or says. But lately, he's having these moments. He's having these moments where I'm just sitting there going, well, daggone you, I've got to agree with you on it. Or daggone you, I like what you just did. Not all the time, but he's having them. Now, Gypsy says there's something fishy about the Fetterman thing. I'm not buying it. You may be right. What I'm going to refer to, this is being reported on Twitter, so take it with a grain of salt. Supposedly, there were some pro-Palestinian protesters that showed up at John Fetterman's house, okay, protesting his position on the Israel-Hamas war, okay? And according to this story, Fetterman goes up on the roof of his house and does something to basically tell the protesters exactly what he thinks of their opinion of him. So I'm going to play this. So you guys, I hope you get a kick out of this because frankly, I just had to get a good chuckle. This is about 27 seconds long. So here we go.
Fetterman, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Fetterman, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide.
So you got the protesters down there going, Fetterman, you can't hide. You are supporting genocide. Now, up on the roof, if this is to be believed, Fetterman's up there holding an Israeli flag.
Fetterman, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Fetterman, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Fetterman, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide.
Staged for sure. Okay, quite possibly. I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be right. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, very well could be. I'm just saying. Supposedly, that's Fetterman up on the roof. It's attributed to him. And if it is, it's got to be one of the funniest things I've heard of in a while. Although I will say this. And this may go to y'all's point about this being scripted, okay? Because in all seriousness, let's assume for a second that all this is true. Laying aside Fetterman's arrogance, does he not realize the danger he's putting himself in? If these are protesters down there and they're doing this crap, how do we know somebody, God forbid, doesn't take a pot shot at the guy? Okay? The guy's standing up there on the roof, and God forbid it happen. Somebody go pew pew on this guy and, gets himself hurt. TBA says it's kayfabe. You may be right. But I heard about this story that I got to share this one. This is just too funny. It's Fetterman version 6.0. That's funny. I'm glad Oh my gosh. Good point. Could be. I mean, look, I thought it was funny. And like I say, if it is true that was Fetterman up on the roof and he's waving an Israeli flag in front of a bunch of Palestinian protesters, that is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. At least I think so anyway, but I bring it to your attention for what it's worth. We do also have a Fani Willis update. Hang on. We need some theme music for this to kind of set the mood, because you got to have theme music. And I think I'm going to borrow something from the FNT crowd. So just saying. Yeah, we have a Fani Willis update for what it's worth. Oh dear. Articles of impeachment filed against Fulton County DA Fani Willis. This is from the Epoch Times. Fulton County DA Fani Willis has 22 articles of impeachment amid allegations of misconduct in the Georgia election interference case. Articles written by Tom Ozimek. A Georgia lawmaker has filed a resolution on Friday to impeach Fulton County DA Fani Willis, accusing her of various acts of malfeasance, tyrannical partiality, and oppression. State Rep. Charlize Byrd, a Republican, said in a January 26 statement she has introduced H.R. 872, a resolution to vote on impeachment charges against Ms. Willis, who brought a high-profile election interference case against former President Donald Trump, and that he has denounced as politically driven, accusing Ms. Willis of suffering from, quote, Trump derangement syndrome. Byrd alleged that the Fulton County DA used her office not to pursue justice, but for political gain. Fani Willis has a laundry list of potential conflicts that make her unworthy and unfit to be the district attorney in Fulton County, Ms. Byrd said in a statement. Someone elected to that office is expected to uphold the law and not weaponize their office for political gain. So there's that going on. Yeah. Our girl has got herself a big time problem, among others, down there. Oh, let's see. What else goes on in the news? What else have we got for HodgePodge? Oh, update on something. You guys heard about the bill in Ohio that was passed by the legislature that put some very severe limitations on surgeries for minors as it relates to transgender issues, and how Governor DeWine had vetoed that bill? Well, the House overrode his veto, and now apparently the Senate has concurred. Take a look at this, just to give you an update on that issue. Ohio legislature officially overrides Governor DeWine's veto of House Bill 86. Transgender mutilation is now banned for minors, and males now banned from women's sports in Ohio. So yeah, I was a little worried about that, about DeWine's veto, and apparently the representatives in the state house exercised their option. They've now made HB 86 the law of the land in the state of Ohio. So my response to that is, good on you, Ohio legislature. There you go. Oh, just a couple other little items. I don't know if this has crossed y'all yet, but Pennsylvania Republicans, such as they are up there in the Keystone State, have filed a lawsuit, or several of them actually. This is from justthenews.com. The most recent of a contested initiatives is Governor Shapiro's introduction of automatic voter registration in the Keystone State. Article written by Ben Whedon. We read the following. 24 Pennsylvania Republican lawmakers this week challenged the federal and state voter registration efforts ahead of the 2024 election. The one federal and two state initiatives, they claim, did not receive endorsement from the relevant legislatures or run against established laws. Hang on one second. According to the Associated Press, among the three at issue is a 2021 executive order from President Joe Biden directing federal agencies to explore ways to boost voter registration access. The second is a Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro's automatic voter registration plan, which he announced last September. The final initiative with which the Republicans took issue is a 2018 order from prior Governor Tom Wolf, a Democrat, forbidding counties from rejecting voter registration solely based on the inclusion of a driver's license or social security number that does not match governmental records. The most recent of the three is Shapiro's introduction of automatic voter registration of the Keystone State. Quote, from now on, when you get or renew your driver's license or an ID card at the DMV, you'll be registered to vote unless you choose not to. I made a commitment when I was campaigning for this office that we would bring automatic voter registration to Pennsylvania and break down the barriers for legal eligible voters, he said in September. The governor's office called the suits frivolous, per the AP, and said it looks forward to once again defending our democracy in court against these advancing extreme, undemocratic legal theories. Pennsylvania was only one of a handful of states that attracted scrutiny for its handling of election integrity in the wake of the 2020 presidential election. Former President Donald Trump included Pennsylvania among a handful of states he alleged saw outcome-changing fraud. So there you go. Got some things moving in the Keystone State. And one last item for HodgePodge Stew. And loser, believe it or not, we are now in the mythical third hour. It is 12:33. We might be 3 minutes into the mythical third hour, but we've made it to the third hour. Anywho, one last story for HodgePodge Stew, and this will wrap it up for the day for us. The UAW has come out with an endorsement for the presidential election, and to no one's great shock, they've endorsed Biden. The UAW endorsement could prove a boon for Biden's re-election hopes as Trump moved to capitalize on manufacturing worker frustrations, particularly in battleground Michigan. Again, this is from justthenews.com, and again by Ben Whedon. UAW union on Wednesday endorsed President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election bid during its conference in Washington, D.C. The UAW conducted a major strike in 2023, staging walkouts at heavyweight automakers such as Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, formerly known as Chrysler. seeking and mostly securing substantive pay increases. Among other benefits, the labor dispute saw President Joe Biden join strikers on the picket line and express support for their efforts. Quote, the choice is clear. Joe Biden bet on the American worker while Donald Trump blamed the American worker. If our endorsements must be earned, Joe Biden has earned it. UAW President Shawn Fain said, according to Politico. Former President Trump, for his part, had urged auto workers to resist the Biden administration's electric vehicle push, warning it would spell the end of the domestic industry. The UAW endorsement could prove a boon to Biden's reelection hopes as Trump moves to capitalize on manufacturing worker frustrations, particularly in battleground Michigan. And Leanne brings up a really good point. They may have endorsed him, but they're not going to vote for him. And see, this is the disconnect between union membership and union leadership. And it's been this way for years. The UAW may endorse Biden, but the membership, I'll almost guarantee you, is going to vote for Trump. Now, you'll never get that officially on the record, but yeah. But yeah, they will endorse. They'll vote for Trump. Gypsy over on Rumble says, keep your backward hard hat on, Joe. That strap dangling in your eyes, it's a great look. Oh, God, that picture was awful. That picture was just... matter of fact, let me find it real fast. I got to do this. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is. I think I just found it. So Joe Biden was at a bar somewhere with, I think, Amy Klobuchar. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. I guess it was in Minnesota. Y'all take a look at this. Check this out. There's Biden in his with a hard hat on. Okay, I don't necessarily have a thing with him having a hard hat on, but it's how he's wearing it that cracks you up. If you want a close up on this, here it is. Here it is. Our commander in chief, folks. Woohoo! Oh my God. Just. Yeah. Yeah, he's just something else. Just something else. Well, anyway, folks, that is Front Porch Brunch for Saturday. And we made it to the flexible but sometimes mythical third hour. Not as far into it as I thought we were going to have to go, but it's there and available. So thanks, you guys. Yeah, the picture looks just like Weekend. Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. I'm going to be back next week with videos. Next Thursday, around 7:30 Eastern, I'm going to have Matt Antar on the channel for a session of Chatting on the Porch. Matt is heavily involved with the Young Republicans up in New York City, and I want to get him on the channel to have a discussion about what's going on in New York City and New York State. Trump says he wants to make a play for New York State, and on its face, it looks like a fool's errand, like Don Quixote tilting at the windmill. But then again, the dynamics up there are shifting. So maybe something's going on. So we're going to have that going on. And that'll be Thursday at 7:30. I'll be back with more videos. And I'm going to do something I haven't talked to Ruben yet. I don't even know if Ruben's available to do this, but I'll talk to him after we get off the air. Donald Trump is appearing this afternoon out in Las Vegas at a Commit to Caucus rally out there. It starts at 4 o'clock Eastern. It's 1 o'clock Pacific out there. I'm going to live stream the event. Now, I might come to regret this, but I've got a family thing at 2:30, and I think I can squeeze this in. So I'm going to do a live stream on that. So be on the lookout for details. But we'll be on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter. I might be doing it by myself, and if I am, that's fine. I hadn't talked to Ruben yet. And, if he says he can't do it, that's fine. Like I said, this is really short notice. But yeah, I'm going to do a live stream covering Trump's remarks out there. I was going to do one yesterday, but unfortunately, he had to cancel his event that Trump was going to do. So yeah, we're going to try and do that at 4:00 today. And we'll see what happens. We'll send out some invites and see what we can make happen here. So there you go. So anyway, God willing, I'll be back for maybe a little bit after. But yeah, we're going to try and set this thing up. So hang in there, guys. And in the meanwhile, thanks for hanging out with me for Front Porch Brunch. We'll be back next Saturday morning. And the time would be 4 p.m. Eastern today. And y'all, it's short notice. If you guys can't make it, I understand completely. But I'm going to try and live stream it, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, thank you guys, especially over on Rumble. Man, you guys have been like chatting it up over there. So yeah, you guys are totally awesome. And thank you, all of you guys. Everybody who showed up today, you guys are absolutely fantastic. So should be back around 4:00 Eastern. I'll either be flying solo or flying with somebody. We'll see who's available. But in the meanwhile, as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." We'll see you later.